What's up, you guys? I'm officially getting back in the swing of videos, and as a re-entry to the channel, I was like, I just want to do something that makes me happy, and truly nothing makes me happier on this channel than trying to highlight some artists that I feel like are underserved or underloved and have just incredible potential and are bringing excellence to the country music space. And so today's video is going to be sort of a retread of something I did last year, which was the best under the radar country artists. In that video, I covered Charles Wesley Godwin, Emily Scott Robinson, Yola, Flatland Cavalry, and Gabe Lee. And I still very much recommend all of those artists, but I want to spread the love a little bit. I went to write down my list of who I thought should be on this list, and I came up with 31 names. And I've talked about a lot of these people on the channel before, if not all of them. Like, I've talked about Nick Scholder, but I just gotta like draw the line somewhere. And so I want to highlight people I haven't talked very much about here on the channel, or people that I feel like are particularly having a moment this year. So just don't overthink who's included here. These are just people I want to talk about today, basically. Okay, first up is a gal named Katy Hasty.
I am not your accessory. I'm not a marionette for your passenger seat.
So Kat is somebody that seems relatively new on the scene. She's down in Texas, and there's not much out there about her. I found like one janky video on YouTube of her singing, but she's released 2 EPs this year, and they're very lo-fi, very acoustic, very singer-songwritery, and yet there is one song in particular, Pretty Things, that is just such a standout to both me and the TikTok world.
So won't you go on and marry that lady, wears Louis Vuitton and drives around in her Mercedes, says downtown Dallas is the place to be. Daddy gave her everything that she's got for free.
The bridge of this song, in which Kat is sort of judgmentally looking at a rich Dallas lady driving around in her Mercedes and how this guy is after that kind of materialistic woman, has become very popular to sing along to among guys and girls alike. It's kind of like a tell-off to this guy, as well as a takedown of this girl, as well as a moment of confidence in herself and in her tattoos and cigarettes. Also, there's a line in Pretty Things where she says, "I'm not your marionette in the passenger seat." Marionette, good word. Good word alert. I should have like a good word alert sound. There's another song of Kat's called Highway Song that is really pretty and also really sparse. In a lot of ways, she sort of reminds me of Zach Bryan. It's almost like a girl version of Zach Bryan and a similarly lo-fi production style, but this is really, really clicking with people. I'm intrigued to see where it goes because I am hearing both like a pure voice and a great songwriting style from Kat, and I hope like we just get some more content out there. But right now, it's intriguing to me that this connects so much with younger country fans. I have this kind of theory brewing that maybe Gen Z, the Zoomer generation, is so overstimulated that they are obsessed with lo-fi music. Stuff like Zach Bryan, stuff like Lady May. Like if you talk to an adult Tyler Childers fan, they'll probably tell you that Nose to the Grindstone or Feathered Indians or All Yourn is their favorite song, but the kiddos, they love Lady May. They like that sparse acoustic stuff, and Kat would be another example of that. Then we got a guy named Drew Parker.
Behind that private picket fence, I got cornhole engine.
Drew Parker is someone, if you follow the songwriting world, whose name you might recognize. He was a co-writer on Luke Combs' record, This One's For You. He also co-wrote Jake Owen's hit single, Made For You. And if you were a fan of the kind of hearty country rock sound of Luke Combs, you might really enjoy Drew Parker.
You, while you're out there looking for some kind of brand new star.
He's got a little bit more of like a Georgia boy twang and a country feel rather than a rocking feel that I would say that Luke has, but his songwriting is solid, it's fun, it is something you could throw on, and it would be a crowd pleaser. I just listened to his EP this past weekend, and it really impressed me as something that felt both fresh and mainstream appealing at the same time. There's songs like While You're Gone that just have that cut above specificity in the songwriting. I loved when he said he's sitting there with his BP PBR.
This BP PBR.
This girl leaves him heartbroken, and he's just got this gas station drink, but the playfulness of wording like BP PBR is something that makes Drew Parker really stand out to me. And you can definitely hear that same effervescent, upbeat playfulness on songs like Party in the Back, which is about having a manicured front lawn, but a sort of raucous party in the backyard. He doesn't take himself too seriously, but the thing I liked on this EP is that when it does go serious on songs like House Band and The Runway, I don't feel like it's just sappy and being slow for the sake of being slow. I really do feel this passion that goes deeper than just these boyfriend country songs that say, wow, you're so pretty. Like, I love the imagery in one of his songs called The Runway, where he says that, you know, this girl, you can take off, you can go away if you need your space, but when you want to come back, like, I'll be the runway. Essentially, you can land on me. I can handle it. I'm happy to, like, host your return and just sort of be patiently waiting for you to come back down. It's just super likable, and if you are a Luke Combs fan, which I know a bunch of you are, I really think you should check this album out. You might like it a lot. Then I want to mention Gabe Lee.
Susanna, why you got to run me around?
If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know I love Gabe Lee. You know I absolutely adored his record Farmland, and I even more adore his newest record, Honky Tonk Hell, which came out earlier this year. To me, Gabe Lee is a real poet. I love the specificity of his words. You really feel like you are on a road trip through America when you're listening to him. And even like my favorite song on this newest record is called Imogene.
I'm working it all out in Imogene.
And even in just that first couplet where he says, I struck out on the road tonight, redneck leather, Japanese tires. Redneck leather Japanese tires is such a different way of describing your vehicle, and yet I know what you're talking about. I always feel like I am in the car with him, looking around at sort of the Walmart USA that he often writes about. And yet there's a mystery to his songwriting that I'm obsessed with too. It takes me a few listens, and I can't always quite figure out what he's saying, but before I can figure out what he's saying, I always sort of understand intuitively. 30 Seconds at a Time is a great example of that, where you've got kids smoking at the railway, you've got a psychic, you've got Jesus at a diner, and that song on the surface is hard to understand. On another level, it's super easy to understand. It's about how we're just taking life slowly, 30 seconds at a time, and it's kind of hard to get through life. He's got that observational wit in his writing style, and then I feel like it's really mirrored in how he delivers things and enunciates things. He has a super conversational folk style of vocals, but sometimes he just whips out these huge vocals and some rasp and some yelling, and it's so appealing to listen to.
The devil got a hold of me, and the devil got a hold of me.
He can be a little bit saucy on songs like All Dogs Go to Heaven. There's gospelish moments on Great Big River, Honky Tonk Hell. He's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder that's really fun. But if you only check out one song from this record, it's Imogene, I think. That song's just so pretty. I talk about Gabe so much on the channel just because I believe so much in his talent. I just can't believe he's not a bigger conversation piece. Y'all gotta check him out. Then I want to mention Sierra Ferrell.
Oh, Jeremiah, tell me what have you done?
Now, to be honest, I don't know all of the backstory of Sierra Ferrell. I believe it involves her kind of traveling around with some homeless musicians. It has a very Jewel-like backstory. Now, I first saw her on a Gems on VHS live session here on YouTube, and then I've also seen her Western AF one. She finally has some music out on streaming services, and what I think is really cool about her is she mixes almost like a bluegrass sound with this New Orleans, more Zydeco, old-timey sound.
You won't tell my world apart.
So she gives me shades of like Billy Strings and Charlie Crockett at the same time. And I believe she's from West Virginia and then lived in New Orleans as well as Seattle. And so that kind of makes sense, that whole fusion, but it's super appealing. And you can hear on the songs that she's just released, Jeremiah is going to be a little bit more that bluegrass side. And the other song will feel more like vampy, voodoo-y a little bit. She's got this sort of retro voice, like the word languid comes to mind, but I'm really intrigued to see where she goes from here. Especially because I know she recently signed a deal with Rounder Records, and they often produce some extravagantly good artists. Then we got Jesse Daniel.
But I refuse to stand in line, baby, just to cut my way.
Now, I've reviewed Jesse Daniel's record Rollin' On already this year, and I know he's been around for a long time, but I'm new to him, and I do feel there is a certain buzz that is starting to build around him. He's got this California country style. You will feel very like Buck Owens-y when listening to him. You've got some of this noodling electric guitar. The album feels very Western in its vibe, and it's just fun. I think it's a really good time. Songs like Tar Snakes and Mayo and the Mustard and Bring Home the Roses and even the title track Rollin' On, they have a lot of energy, sunniness to them, and there's a real twang in Jesse Daniel's voice.
In this race, there's no first place, and you're lucky just to come in last.
This album is sort of just a straight down the middle great album that I have returned to many times this year. I find it so fun to drive to this record. As honky tonk productions go, I think I'm typically expecting something a lot rougher, and the production on this record is just super luxe, and you kind of feel that lushness. It reminds me of Mike and the Moon Pies in that way, where the production all just feels really intentional and clean. Something I love about country music is its sense of place that is often expressed in the lyrics, and I think Jesse Daniel's really good at that as a songwriter on something like Son of the San Lorenzo, which is an area of California. You're getting details of redwood trees and blackberries, and I just love that in country songwriting, that it sets you in a place, it just lets you kind of live there for a few minutes. Then I want to mention a band called The Wilder Blue.
Does an eagle feel when he's flying?
Now, Wilder Blue is the rebrand of a band that is still pretty new called Hill Country, and Hill Country is the band of the singer Zane Williams. But now it's called The Wilder Blue. I'm guessing they were competing with Hill Country Barbecue for traffic, as well as just people Googling Hill Country and not necessarily finding the band. But in any case, they took a line from one of their most popular songs, Dixie Darlin', and used that term, The Wilder Blue. That's their new rebrand. I don't think that's even what it is on Spotify yet, but they're awesome either way. They have this record out called The Eagle. Man, this record, I have come back to it so many times. The song Dixie Darlin' is a sort of somber but weirdly winsome and almost hopeful feeling take on an unwanted pregnancy, but it's heartbreaking at the same time.
Dixie darling, did you find she's a raft, greener past the wilder blue?
It's super interesting, and it's layered with these harmonies. They've got these sort of almost Zac Brown bandish harmonies, but maybe the Texas country version of it. Other standouts on their record are the song Palomino Gold. I love the song The Eagle, which just makes me feel hopeful. That really is the word that comes to mind, or adventurous maybe. This band, I think, has amazing dynamics. They get quiet when they should and allow the instruments to really have their space in the song. And then when they come in with that wall of harmony, it's just so beautiful. Another person I want to mention is Tessy Lou Williams.
A pathway of teardrops will show you the way.
Tessy Lou Williams is a woman out of Montana and just has the most gorgeous, plaintive songs. This is a total lonesome country album that will pluck at your heartstrings and just make you want to sit with like a glass of wine and think about some heartbreak. Her cover of Why Do I Still Want You is just so gorgeous. It'll take you to like Patsy Cline vibes of gorgeousness.
Now why do I still want you?
And then some of her originals like Mountain Time in Memphis, which is about going through a breakup, and even though you've moved cities, your heart is still in another time zone, are just exemplary. There is a beautiful sort of cowgirl feel to this record, and hell, the woman is from Montana. She knows what she's talking about, and she has sort of earned this excellent delivery storytelling style through years and years and years of playing in bars, and you just feel it. It's such a gorgeous record. I could rave about this record all day, but go check out her self-titled if you just want to feel that lonely midnight country sadness. And then I want to mention two duos that I really believe in. The first is Muscadine Bloodline.
Somebody ends up on the wrong side of the dial.
I think I've talked about Muscadine Bloodline for maybe 30 seconds on this channel before, but they continue to pop up in my DMs so much. They have passion around them, and something I do like about them, just not even musically, is that they get the internet. They get how to engage with their fans. They get how to be approachable. They get how to market themselves. They have their own podcast now, and they're super respected by literally everyone, fans and their peers in the industry alike, and they're just scrappy. That's something I think is cool about them. But their new album, Burn It at Both Ends, is super, super solid and at times just great. These guys have super appealing harmonies, pretty fun, upbeat songs that I imagine play really well in concert at a bar.
Sometimes good things happen after midnight.
I think they're really good at slowing down songs and having a sort of slinky sexiness to how they deliver things. And songwriting-wise, they definitely love the sound of words and kind of matching them up against each other on things like Here Goes Nothing, which uses the assonance of that sound in nothing and sort of plays around with it for the entire chorus.
Here goes nothing but something about telling someone you've been loving that you love them for the very first time.
That's a collaboration on this record, and I think the other two collaborations, one with BJ Barham called Ain't the Van and another with Brent Cobb called Good Chunk of Change, are both excellent. What that says to me is that when they are writing with people kind of outside of the mainstream, they are really able to stretch themselves and sort of allow the specifics maybe that those songwriters bring in and work off of that. I think those are their shining moments on this album, and it's intriguing, and I hope that they can bring in some of those influences more into their own writing, just because I think it's solid, but it's not quite as interesting as the ones where they've got some of their songwriting heroes on there. But one song that I adore on the album that's not a collaboration is Walk in the Room, which is very romantic. This is like a great version of a boyfriend country song about how just things stop when this woman walks in a room. I think the last three songs on this new record, Burn It at Both Ends, are just awesome. It's a 1-2-3 punch, and so I would burn it at that end, I guess. But I'm super intrigued by them and really like them. And then a band that is very newly on my radar is the Tuten brothers.
Make a little love, make a little money. I don't need much if I got you, honey.
These are guys that I found through TikTok and ended up following on Instagram, and they just released an EP or an album. I don't know what they're calling it, because now you got albums like Ingrid Andress's that are 8 songs, and sometimes EPs are just as long. But these guys have a similar likable harmony sound as Muscadine Bloodline. And while I think a lot of this EP doesn't feel especially outside the box to me, there are a few moments on it that really have me listening closer to the Tuten brothers. One of them is the song called Country Music, which is the title track.
'Cause only God can heal my hurt. Country music made it feel better.
This will very much give you Hippie Radio by Eric Church vibes, as they are sort of reflecting on the role of country music in their lives, and they're thinking about their family, and they're thinking about how country music has helped them cope. Then there's another song I really like called Monica that almost feels like a Kenny Chesney song, one of those wistful sort of beach town songs. The first line of it is, I played a little bar in Tamarindo, and Tamarindo would be another good word alert. That's the moment that I started to listen more closely to them. I'm like, oh snap, they're gonna set us in a scene with good words. Love that. These guys are also really funny on TikTok. I think they're creative. I think the way they market themselves is, again, very smart and outside the box and very DIY.
And I wanna make a little life with you. Mouth solo.
Now, there are a bunch of other artists I want to mention in this video, but like I said, I got to draw the line somewhere. Let me just read you who else I really kind of wanted to talk about, but... Anyway, those are some artists I really like. Let me know what you think, and let me know who else I should be checking out. There's good people that are under the radar in the mainstream and people that are truly just random and independent. At the end of the day, though, we all love country music, and that makes me happy, and I hope you find something you like in this video.